This is Ichariba Chode, an Okinawan Voices and Stories podcast, episode 9.
Hi, Ty, and welcome. We are so delighted to be joined by Ichariba Chode podcast supporter and Kickstarter backer, Marisa Kaneshiro. Welcome, Marisa. And do you mind sharing your pronouns and what land you live on as we get started here?
I live on Squaxin Island land in Washington State, like Olympia, Shelton area.
Thanks so much, Marisa, for joining us. We're so excited to have you on. But just to kind of get us going into it, but how do you identify like Shimanchu or Okinawa and whatever term that you like to use? And what is your connection to Okinawa or Ryukyus? If you happen to know your ancestral hometown?
So I am mixed race. I identify as Okinawan. Mostly because that's all I know, and I have been reading up about different terms, and for now I'm sticking to Okinawan. My father is Okinawan, both his parents. My paternal grandmother's family is from Tomigusiku, I think is how it's pronounced.
It's quite a diverse spread there. But what inspires you about Okinawa or the Ryukyus, or being Okinawan?
Oh, well, I'm really inspired by everything I'm learning about Okinawa. I think what was most inspirational and really got me going, delving into Okinawan life, what life was like in Okinawa for my grandparents, their parents, my ancestors, was when I had a child. And I was doing a lot of research on attachment theory. And I came across information about what folks observed of Okinawan parenting and child rearing post-war, I guess, World War II. And I was really inspired by that. There's a lot of attachment theory based concepts that are a part of Okinawan culture. They're a part of parenting. And we call it here in the West attachment theory, like it's this theory, right? And for so many other cultures, including my own, which I did not know, it was just a way of being. And that really, really warmed my heart. Mm-hmm. I think that my family has a traumatic history. Mm-hmm. And so much of that was not carried over. So to find that Okinawan culture, Okinawan parenting has such a compassionate way of rearing children was very profound for me.
Thank you for sharing that. What do you do in life? Is there anything that you study or any passions or what you do for your job?
So I just do legal assistant work. I love plants and plant medicine. I have a lot of interest in that. I'm really obsessed with flowers. What else? Let's see. My partner is a Squaxin Island tribal member, and so we participate in annual canoe journey and things like that. So just a lot of time with family, my family, his family, and our little family. I have one little girl, and it's my life.
Oh, love that. I'm sure all of the parenting research that you've done on Okinawa, and then perhaps with your partner, that indigenous wisdom might be woven through and healed through your experiences with your daughter. And that's really profound.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And sort of kind of connected to that dream, I guess, or that repatterning. Do you have a dream or a hope that you'd like to share about for Okinawa or the Ryukyus?
Peace and demilitarization. Is that a little bit too radical? I don't know.
It's a hope and a dream.
Yeah. and this continued connection between those of us who are from the diaspora and our homeland.
Absolutely. I love that so much. But kind of continuing like that, but do you have any favorite Okinawan or family memories that you can share with us?
So my grandmother was born in Hawaii and was sent back to Okinawa to be raised by her grandparents. I think this was a common practice. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys have heard of that before. So she didn't have a ton to share. Maybe trauma was involved. I'm not sure, but I didn't know that I was Okinawan for most of my young life, although we only participated in like Okinawan festivals in Hawaii. We didn't do Japanese festivals, whatever they might, like the Sakura Festival or whatever. No, it was all the Uchinachu this, Uchinachu that festival. So at some point I learned, I don't know whether at some point somebody was like, yeah, we're not Japanese, we're actually Okinawa. And I'm like, okay, thanks.
Surprise.
Right. And this is a common thing, like, finding out how common it is for people to have been told that they were Japanese is really fascinating. So all of that, we did a lot of cultural events growing up, Okinawan cultural events through the Okinawan Cultural Center. And yeah, those were awesome.
Following the thread of culture, do you have a favorite Okinawan culinary dish?
I don't like seafood.
Oh,
I'm
no.
not a big meat. I know.
I'm so sorry.
The visceral reaction.
I got so much shit growing up because I don't eat seafood. So my favorites would be untagi and Okinawan sweet potato. I love them so much.
Yes.
Those are valid too, though. Those are so really good. Kind of pivoting a little, and I think you may have like started talking about this earlier, but what has been the most surprising thing in your Okinawan identity journey?
Probably the indigenous struggle. I am very interested in race and politics and have been for, decades. And so to learn first that I was Okinawan and then like, okay, wait, what is that? What does that mean? And all that came, learning about the occupation, learning about Japanese imperialism and assimilation and like that our last names were given to us, like they're all of that stuff is still heavy. But yeah, that has honestly been just the most surprising to me. I just had no idea that that I had a personal connection to indigeneity, personal connection to being indigenous.
Thank you for sharing that. I really feel you in that deep journey that's evolving and yeah, it's layer after layer and it just keeps going. But I so honor your path. I would be curious to hear, it's a little bit of a pivot as well. Could you share with us one person who has influenced your life the most?
Oh yeah, this one's really hard. I hate for it to be a white person. But
yeah.
I like Tori Amos's music has been a really big part of my life since I was a young teen. I'm old, you guys. I'm 43, so
that's still pretty young.
I mean, I know it's young, but like in terms of music and like these cultural references, mine are a little older. Yeah, Tori Amos and her music have had definitely a profound effect on my life. And then probably my partner. I think my partner has had a large impact on my life, who I am today, what I look forward to and whatnot.
Anything you'd like to share with our with us or our listeners?
I'm really interested in connecting with folks who had the experience that my grandmother did, of being born in Hawaii and then being sent back to Okinawa to be raised. Like what I'm super interested in what that experience was like, why that happened, why was that happening? So if anybody has an experience, definitely reach out. I'm super curious.
Absolutely. And I personally don't know anything about it, but what generation would that have been? I'm wondering if it was like a particular time in which
this would have been, she was sent actually before the war and was sent back to Hawaii before the war. So I think that she was sent home earlier than she was supposed to, possibly because of the war.
Okay.
And then we don't have any connection, so we lost all connection to our family back in Okinawa. I'm not sure if that's because of death or I mean, I think that's most likely. So all immediate family probably did not survive. But I don't know for sure.
Where can our listeners find you or get a hold of you if they do want to reach out?
So I'm on Facebook, Marisa Kaneshiro, but all that's private, so that's probably not a good one. I'm on Twitter. I don't think that's private. At Undine Wildwood. Undine, Undine, Wildwood, WILDWOOD.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll make sure that's linked in the show notes.
I'm on Discord too, but I have no idea what that is. And I'm in the Discord group. I can't remember what it's called right now. The Shimanchu Discord.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And our final and most favorite question: what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, for sure, "Dreams" by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh my gosh, that's old school. I love it.
It's so old school, yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
Oh, that's so great.
I know. We're going to add that to our Shimanchu karaoke playlist.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I was expecting Tori Amos, but you kind of came out of nowhere with that one.
Nobody knows Tori Amos. So if you
really?
do Tori Amos karaoke, nobody knows who, like, what is that? And yeah, she's a little depressing for karaoke.
I guess that's true.
Intense, I should say, a little intense for karaoke.
I think maybe it's like a little later on in the night when everyone's kind of like, getting to know each other more, and you can bust that out and lift your little solo.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, thank you so much, Marisa. We are so grateful for you, for your story, for your journey, and your heartfelt, authentic sharings today. Thank you so much. And we look forward to sharing this with the rest of our listeners.
Yes, thank you both so much for all that you do. Really, really appreciate this podcast.
Thank you. All right. We'll just say mata yasai, and we'll see you later. Mata yasai.
Mata yasai.
見せたよ三振打ちたて七ならし試験に向かって共にかりゆしぬ船でさな
Kusuyo, haitai, and welcome to episode 9 of the Ichariba Chode podcast. Wanne Mariko Yaibin. My name is Mariko, and today I'll be your co-host alongside Erika Kunihisa.
Hi, Sai.
Itashiku nigeisabira. This month's episode, we will be talking to 3 of the editors behind the recently published Okinawan magazine, Shimanchu Nukui, or SNK magazine. A very big welcome to our guest speakers today, Sherry Schaefer.
Hi, Sai.
Karen Tengen Okuda.
Hi, Sai.
And Carol Nakadomari.
Hi, Sai. Oi, gente.
Sherry uses she, her pronouns, is a second generation Lu Chuan in the US. She is a founding editor of SNK magazine, a learner of Uchina Gucci, and a strong proponent of Ryukyuan language revitalization. She enjoys spending time in cafes and eating donuts every now and then. Karen uses she, her pronouns, is a second generation Uchinanchu living and working in the lands of the Darug and Eora peoples, so-called Sini, Australia. What grew from curiosity of her family history has now propelled her into a lifetime journey of becoming a better ancestor for future generations. In her spare time, you'll find her dancing, learning Uchina Gucci, making things, and just generally keeping herself occupied with one of her many interests. Carol uses she, her pronouns, is a fourth generation Brazilian Shimanchu. Proud to represent her country in the SNK team, she tries to shorten distances and connect people through translation. She is also a new member of GEOKI, the study group of the University of Sao Paulo dedicated to Okinawan studies in Brazil. She has been making great friends in the community online, and she can't wait to meet everybody face-to-face sometime.
Welcome, Sherry, Karen, and Carol. We are so excited to have you. I know we've been looking forward to this for a long time. Grateful to have you. And could you just give a quick shout out to the other SNK editors who were not able to join us on the call today?
The other editors are June Owatari. They've been an editor since the first issue. And our other editor who's not here is Kay Colbridge. And she couldn't make it this time, but she joined for the second issue.
Amazing. So thank you to the three of you for joining us. Shout outs to June and to Kay for your amazing work on the magazine. We wish you could have been here with us. But why don't we go ahead and dive right in? So we would love to get to know a little bit about you. Perhaps you could share what your current role is with SNK, how long you've been part of the project, and where you're located.
I guess I can go first. This is Sherry. And basically I've been an editor since issue 1, and but I put on different hats. I do various things. I don't have a specific role exactly, but I would say in terms of like what I do, I tend to do a lot of like organizing and managing and kind of keeping everyone on track, like to kind of meet deadlines and all that. And I also do a lot of the financial stuff, kind of taking care of that as well. I've done some of the editing, but I think it was definitely very much a teamwork, collaboration. So, I did some of that as well.
It's amazing. It's a lot to hold.
Yeah. And I'll mention that I'm on the land of the Tongva people, also known as Los Angeles.
Yes, I guess I'll go next. This is Karen. I'm coming from Sydney, or the land of the Darug and the Eora peoples. I've been with SNK since issue 1 as well. Sherry, I remember the day literally that Sherry messaged me and she was like, "Oh, are you interested?" And I was like at my internship that I really did not like, and I was like, "Oh my God, yes! I needed this." I do. I guess we all have a lot of roles and stuff, but I do a lot of some of the translations to Japanese, laying out the magazine in Canva, that kind of stuff, and also some social media stuff as well for our Instagram. I think that's pretty much me.
Thanks. How about you, Carol?
I'm Carol. I'm from Brazil. I live in Paraná State, and I'm a new member on the team, along with Kay. And I joined SNK for the second issue in, I think, October last year. And I'm also an editor, but I'm mostly responsible for the Portuguese translation and communication in general with the Brazilian contributors. And now with second issue with local printing, I'm also responsible for the distribution in South America.
Wow, that's amazing. What an incredible team. And I just have to salute how incredibly diverse and talented you all are. Being able to see a publication in so many different languages has been hugely inspiring. So thank you all for the amazing work that you've done. Sherry, for sort of pulling the people in together, and then each of you for bringing your energy into this incredible uniting project. So thank you.
What was the idea behind or starting SNK, and maybe like take us back a little to when this actually started, or like at least the small seeds of the idea, and then kind of taking us through grabbing the team together, and then the first issue, and yeah, to where we are now.
The origin story.
Yes.
So basically, I think this started back in 2011. So last year, was it last year?
2021.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so last year, and
love it.
Yeah, basically, like I was part of this. I'm still part of this online Discord group, and what I noticed is that there was just so much talent in our community. Like I felt like there were so many artists, people with all kinds of skills and talents, like writers, musicians. And like, I was completely blown away by everything that I was seeing. This was also kind of my start with getting into the community and kind of learning about my own identity and connecting with everyone. And I was just like, wow, our community is really amazing. And I just wanted to like showcase our talents. And I kind of felt like there wasn't anything out there that was specifically like for Okinawans or Okinawans in the diaspora. Mm-hmm. I just kind of threw this idea out there. Would anyone like to kind of start a magazine? And I don't remember who agreed first. I think Karen showed interest, and June as well. And Erica, definitely Erica, you were on the first issue.
Yeah, I was on the first issue.
Right.
Playing both sides. I love that. I imagine that was probably pretty difficult, but also pretty inclusive, to have a print or a visual medium to express those things that you were saying, Sherry, to truly showcase what is happening in our community and the talents. And everybody really is. It's like the more I'm here and the more I connect with folks, the more it's like, whoa, oh my gosh, there were so many deeper levels to all of us that I had no idea. Thank you.
And I also think like that the fact that it came from like this online community, I think like it feels, at least to me, like super connected, like, across different continents and in the diaspora and back in the homeland, and feel like at least for me, I've never seen something that has been like so far reaching and like so inclusive with like the different languages and things like that. So yeah, it's been really exciting, and like something, especially as someone who didn't grow up within like a diaspora community, it's been something like really special to be able to be part of and to be able to see grow, and people being so excited about it and like being touched by the project as well and things like that. Yeah.
Well, that's a wonderful addition. Yeah. I'd love to hear from you too, Carol. I know you're a recent addition to the team, but how has your experience been with the SNK magazine?
Well, it's been a journey, but it's such an honor to be part of this project. Like here in Brazil, we didn't really knew what the project was about. I think it took a while for the Brazilians to start to participate in like actively in the Discord, in any kind of online platform. So it was something more about here in Brazil for me, like what in Brazil I can contribute with. But then I found this super beautiful opportunity, and I saw that has so much potential, and the fact that they wanted to have this as multilingual as possible. It's an opportunity for the Brazilian community, and I saw that as a way to contribute for the whole community.
It's incredible. Yeah, thank you so much for bridging. I think as a diaspora, we are finding like those edges where it's difficult to connect, and language is a huge barrier. And then just finding each other. So just appreciating you as a bridge into that community. And sort of, it's like incredible. Like the more I travel, the more I realize you make one connection and it unlocks a whole new world of people that you're connected to through that. And that speaks really loudly to the Okinawan experience, the Okinawan diasporic experience, whether you think you know that you're part of one or not. At least for myself, it was like kind of amazing to see the unfolding of that. Erica, I'd love to hear from you too, since you were one of the founding editors, one of the editors in the first issue.
Yeah, I guess, I started on the first issue and helped with some of the design, supported some of the design work and whatnot, but I think it was just a really cool, I think it actually also started the time that the podcast started, in terms of just the initial phases of talking about doing creative projects and whatnot. And so I just think it's cool to see the different creative ways we've all been able to share different stories. So being able to share stories through the podcast in an audio format, and then being able to express the creative sides in like written form. And then also again with the language thing, which is really cool. I really think it's awesome that you've expanded the team to have like reaching the Brazilian community or South America community more, because I think that's what we all want to do, and to be able to create this truly like international diaspora too, because we all love our homeland so much. And I think just being able to support each other and just find these connections is really, really cool. So I think it's just awesome to see the different creative projects that we've all been able to work on and support. I know we're all like cheering each other on the side, like just like, yeah, issue 2's out, go buy it, everyone. And so I just love seeing all this collaboration and just support through the different projects, and just even individually too.
So we touched on this just a little bit with language and that type of thing, but I'm curious, for the SNK team, what has been some of the challenges that you've come across?
So we started something different for the second issue, which was to have copies printed like in Brazil. Because before, basically, we were only using Lulu. We still use Lulu for most countries outside of South America. But basically, we want to get copies printed in Brazil to kind of get the cost down, because shipping, kind of adds up. And and Carol has been doing a lot of the work. So thank you so much, Carol, for all of the work with, organizing that. But yeah, it was kind of a challenge to find like basically a company that would print, right? And kind of look at costs. And then once we got it printed, we did a test run. And actually, Carol, maybe you could talk about that. What happened with that?
Well, we have a test print a couple weeks ago, and we were already ready. We were ready to launch. We wanted to launch, but when the test comes, it's printed backwards.
Oh no!
It was printed backwards. I couldn't believe. I was so embarrassed. It took me so long to like kind of focus, and like I have to tell the team this terrible mistake, and I don't know how. But then I opened, and they are super, super understanding, and we did another one, and everything was fine this time, and now it's perfect.
Yay. And that's why you do test runs, hey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. So all of those folks that received their copies can now know all of the energy that went into issue number 2 being printed perfectly. Yeah.
I think also like coming off of that, one of the challenges that we face is like just cost in general. So like to keep the magazine as affordable, as reasonable as possible, but like, you know, trying to have as many contributors as we can, but like with like limited funding or like limited like finances and stuff, like we just don't have the capacity to like accept everyone. And I feel like that's always like the hardest thing, because it's like everyone like who's submitted like all their works, it's just like so amazing and like so creative, and people from all across like the diaspora and like back in the homeland and stuff like submit for the magazine, and we want to accept everyone, but like, you know, like it's just like we just at the moment, so hopefully in the future like we can get more capacity for that, but at the moment, like, yeah, that's one of the challenges that we have, like the actually like fitting as many contributors as possible, like with like our limited budget and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not just budget, it's also like our time as well, because we're all volunteers, and we're just kind of you know, we're setting aside our own free time to do this, but yeah, we only have so much time to work on like actually putting the magazine together and doing the editing. So yeah, there's the time and the financial barriers.
Yeah. Ooh, that sounds tricky.
Yeah, I just also want to echo, like, I know I was just part of it in issue 1, but I also found that to be such a difficult thing to do in terms of like selecting who should be printed and who shouldn't and stuff, because like everyone has such like different perspectives and stories, their own personal stories to tell. And I know how vulnerable it is to be able to submit and share that with them. So, or with like others and stuff. So it was really hard, like emailing people to kind of like rejection letters basically. And it's like, oh, I wish we didn't have to do this, but because of funding and time, we had to do that. But I would say that's like that was like one of the hard challenges for me in that respect.
It challenges for the next issues. I think it's to keep bringing new things. Like what can we add? What can we keep doing? What we need to change or something?
Yeah. I know here at the podcast, we run into similar issues with capacity and time. And then just, it's a wonderful problem to have, that there's so much creativity and expression out there. And yet it is also so hard to sort of distill it in a way that is actually manageable for the folks that are trying to put it out. But I so hear you and honor your process.
Even with the challenges, I feel like there has been such positive responses for both issues 1 and 2. And also there was an article written in the Okinawan Times about SNK. So how on a personal level or just as a team, what has that been like getting these responses back?
It's been really wonderful to hear people's responses, and we'd like to hear more from our readers, because we've gotten like a few comments, but but all the comments that we received so far were all positive, and people were so like grateful, and they said that a lot of people said this was really meaningful to them. So yeah, really touched a lot of people. Also an elder who read the magazine. She was like crying when she saw it for the first time. So yeah, she wanted to like have this shared with a lot of people, because she was like, this is really special.
I think like the positive responses that we've gotten from, well, personally, like from people that I didn't really expect, especially like in the first issue, like the first one that we put out, it was like mostly in English, but my mom, like, she sent it back to like her sisters, and stuff like that, and like them being like just like proud, I guess, of like what like the younger generations are doing and stuff like that, because it's not really something that we talk about often. I think like about, you know, like what they've been through and like how that's impacted us, and I don't know, that kind of intergenerational that stuff. So like hearing that from them was really special for me. Like actually, especially like living away from like my relatives and stuff. So we're not as close, I guess, sometimes. But hearing that feedback from them was really special and really meaningful. And I felt like this magazine is really doing, like this project is really doing something to like connect the diaspora with the homeland and like with different generations together and things like that. So yeah.
Love that. Curious what your experience has been, Carol. Have you gotten feedback from your Brazilian community or connection to other folks? What has it been like for you?
It's challenging. Most Brazilians were like concerned that they couldn't submit or something like that. They were like insecure, not insecure, but they were like, should I do this? How do I do this? How does this work? And so that's challenging. Like it's a process for everyone. We want everyone in the world to contribute. So that's beautiful. That's like super nice to have like this space, the safe space to share. So yeah, so I really hope we have in the next issues, even more languages, even more people, even more countries contributing.
Beautiful. Do you know by chance, like how many different countries were represented across the two magazines?
That's a good question. So we have a lot. I mean, we have contributors from all over. A lot from the Kingdom of Hawaii, from Turtle Island, Brazil. I'm not
UK,
sure. But
we have one from UK.
From the UK, that contributor, she was originally, I think, they were born in Naha, I believe. So, sorry, Naha, in Uchina. In Uchina. So I don't think they were like raised in the UK, but I think they moved to the UK.
That's so cool. Great. So kind of connected to sort of that wider web of Uchina like diaspora. I'm curious how working on the magazine, how that's changed how you think of being part of sort of the wider diaspora. So has the magazine changed the way that you feel you move within the Okinawan community and the diaspora? I see Carol smiling. Oh,
yeah. No, I think I'll go first because this is funny. But I've been learning a lot about being Brazilian.
Interesting.
And the differences in the diaspora. Here in Brazil, we have so many different cultures and so many different influences. And I see that in the Luchuan community. I see that this diversity. And there are some things that they're just here in Brazil. Even the way we talk, the way we express ourselves and everything. So in the process of questioning myself and understanding my identity, I found myself completely as a Brazilian Luchuan. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Omedetou. That's amazing. It's huge. Yeah. Karen, it sounded like maybe you had something that you'd like to say?
I think for me, like it's been kind of finding that community because I didn't really grow up within like an Okinawan Ryukyuan kind of community here in Sydney. So I mostly grew up with like the Japanese community here. So actually finding these connections has been like a big part of being involved in this project, and like being able to learn from like all you guys and different people across the world and that kind of thing has been like really, really like good for me and like really special for me. Yeah.
I love that. And you're calling in from Australia.
Yes.
It's so wild that we've all connected.
I know.
Across time zones.
I know.
Sherry, as sort of founding editor behind the magazine, I'm curious if you have like kind of a unique experience of finding yourself in the community and the diaspora.
Yeah, I think my identity journey, it's been ongoing, and actually, I feel much more strong. I feel a stronger sense of my Luchuan identity now. I'm still mixed, like ethnically, I'm mixed race, but in terms of like how I express myself and how I see myself, like I feel a much stronger sense of being Luchuan, and I feel really connected to the homeland. So I feel connected not just to the homeland, but to everyone like in the diaspora. So it's really amazing to see like how, despite geographical distances and, all our different cultures that we grew up in, there's still like so much that we have in common with each other. And, no matter where we are in the world, like we all have the same roots, and we all connect in that way. So I think that's really amazing to see.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Erica, I keep being you're like podcast co-host, and you have like a very interesting mixed layer of being in both, but I'd love to hear from you too.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Or at least I guess for working on the magazine, I think that was still also in the beginning part of my journey in terms of finding Shimanchu Collective online too, and really having these difficult conversations sometimes about identity and stuff. And I think I've become a little more secure in my identity in terms of like, it's okay that I've only started my journey. Like there's so much I've learned in a year, and this journey is going to be, it's not just like a one thing, it's like a till I die basically. And so it's okay that I'm still learning and unlearning things. And I think it also just helps having a community, because there's like so many people that I've met and talked with just as a group or individually, having like really intimate conversations that are, and having a safe space to talk about it without being necessarily judged, even though maybe you're like able to explore questions that may be a little difficult. And so you have people who have become your friends and family to talk about these things. And I think that's what I've really appreciated, connecting to the community like that, whether it be on the Discord or having a place for the magazine or on the podcast and all these smaller in-between communities. But it's been really amazing to see.
Yeah, I totally agree with Erica. I feel like it's really like important to be able to like talk with like others and stuff. And instead of, I feel like in the past, I was always kind of like researching or like reading articles, reading books, and I didn't have that kind of human connection with people in our community. So like having that, like seeing your faces, like being able to talk things through, asking questions and always learning has been like a really like crucial part of my journey as well. And especially as diaspora people, like our experience or like our perspectives, like, and how we experience like the history of like the islands and stuff is different to people who live there now. And like the way we learn about our history and stuff like that. So it is like still really nice to be able to talk to people in the diaspora as well as people back home, and like share the kind of like the multitude of experiences that we all have. Yeah.
And if I can just add to what Erica said about having the safe space, for me that's so important, because the topics can get really heavy. There's still colonialism and imperialism, and like there's a lot of tragic things that happened. But it's really nice to be able to just be open and honest and like connect with people who, have the same kind of the same background as me. So yeah, I really feel like I can really, really connect with people in a deep way. So that's nice.
What was it like working on this issue compared to I guess issue 1, and I know that when I first started, we had like different themes for issue 1, and I know issue 2 is Shimanchu identities in the 21st century, and I guess what was your process in terms of choosing the theme and stuff like that?
For the second issue, we wanted to highlight the diversity of our communities, and there's so many different identities. Many of us are multiracial. There's various sexual and gender orientations, identities, and that. And also, just different backgrounds, different histories. And also, Luchu itself is very diverse. So with all the islands, Uchina and Myaku, Yema, Dunan, I'm using the native names of the islands, but each island is so different from the others. They have their own culture. So we want to kind of highlight those differences and
And just going off of that, I think because our first issue, the theme was honoring our ancestors. So it was kind of like looking to the past. And in this issue, we wanted to focus a bit more on how like our ancestors have impacted us and where we are today, I think. Yeah. Your question on what was it like working on issue 1 versus issue 2, I think like with the addition of our new editors and especially Carol, who's done a lot of work translating, it's really cool to see like so much of the pieces being translated into like multiple languages, and that aspect of it has been really cool, and hopefully like we can continue with that to make it more like accessible to even more communities in the diaspora as well as back home.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of jumping into the next question, but so you kind of went, the honoring the ancestors, and then also how that informs how we are showing up today with our identity. I'm curious, and you've spoken a little bit to this, but like, what is it like in the future? So for whether it's the magazine with the topic, or any of the logistical pieces, just curious what you all are hopeful for in the future, whether it be the magazine or for our community, and what that might look like.
So for the topic, we don't really pre-plan it. We just we discuss it and brainstorm ideas, and then we kind of, I think like with the second issue, we threw out different suggestions, and then we had a vote amongst our followers. We might do something similar where we'll just brainstorm, and because I don't really know what the next issue's topic will be, but it'll form. So
and I guess it's just bigger and better each time. Like that's what we hope for, to be able to connect more of us together, to be able to share more stories and that sort of thing. So
I really want to kind of make more connection between the diaspora and Luchu itself. And I'm really hoping that more people within Luchu kind of like get their hands on our magazine and read it. And because I'm really curious to know what people in Luchu think and kind of get their reactions, because I'd love to see more of a dialogue between the diaspora and the homeland.
Yeah, I also would like to see or hear what the older generation think about it more and more. Like we kind of know that our readers are our generation. They know our Instagram page. They know our website. They know they know us from the Discord or something like that. But I would love to know what the older people think too. What they think about what we're doing with the community and what we're doing with the history of our community.
I really feel that, Carol. Just say, how do we? It's like almost like another language, right? How do we meet people in the space that they exist in? Especially because I think we've heard. Well, I can speak for myself. I've heard a lot of people within our community and the diverse experience that exists within that. But I know even my mother's generation is a completely different experience. Like she, like we're coming up on the 50th year of reversion. And I'm like, oh my God, my mom lived through that. And just like the realization that she was there, like, oh my gosh. And then realizing time was really not that long ago. And then you think one generation before that, and you're like, oh my God, they had like a completely different, And so I think what you were saying, Carol, is just like so on point. Is like, what do they think about our experience in the diaspora? And then we were, Eric and I were talking with somebody, I think it was yesterday, from Japan, an Okinawan person now living in Germany. But we were talking about the idea of having like the Okinawan experience being different when you live on the mainland, like Honto, versus like when you're abroad, and not realizing how important it is like to preserve the culture because you're immersed in it. You don't know the preciousness of what you have until you leave it. And I think that's what the diaspora holds so strongly, is because we're apart from it. Let me just get off my soapbox a second. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I was just like, our ancestors, they want to know.
I feel like we, like all of, like even the podcast and all of these creative projects, like kind of all go back to that, really, about how like we can connect just in all ways, like across language barriers, across generational barriers and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's on everyone's like at the back of our head, like how do we do do all of it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious. Yeah. And I'm just going to plug, if our listeners out there hear this, whatever time space you listen to it, if you have an idea of connecting with our ancestors, or not ancestors, but like our elders, older generations, if you have like a creative idea, and please reach out either to the magazine folks or to the podcast. We are absolutely like, we all exist to create these connections. So
I'm like trying to think of things. I'm just like silent because I'm in my head, like, yes, how do we do this? How do we make this work? So sorry, I'm just in my head because I'm like, yes. Because it's so important also connecting to the generational aspect, because our elders hold so much information and stories to share. But I know sometimes it can be difficult to access it just because there's like a lot of trauma also attached to that. Which is something else completely. But I would love to be able to find a way to talk in that space. But how can people support or get involved in SNK, and where can people purchase issues 1 and 2? And we'll also put links in our show notes, but maybe Sherry can help us with this one.
So there's different ways people can take a look at it. So there's we have both print and digital versions. So with the print version, so if you're in South America, right, Brazil specifically, then you can get a copy through Ko-fi. So we have a Ko-fi page that's specifically for ordering print copies in Brazil or other countries in South America. And we also have a Lulu page. So Lulu is a service that we're using where it's print on demand. And so basically you would just order through the website. So if you go to lulu.com, then you can just search for SNK, and then you'll be able to find both issues 1 and 2 on there. You can just order it and it delivers to any country in the world. So that's the reason why we chose Lulu as a service, is because it had that option of shipping internationally. So you can do that. For digital copies, basically you would go to our Ko-fi page, and it's a donation-based system. You just if you want, you can get it for free. We would appreciate any donations if you download a copy of it. So
support the magazine, because that's how they're able to pay contributors and have the team working on this, and it's for a great cause too.
And for those where it, like finances might be a little bit challenging, did I see that you have a scholarship or application for people, like copies for people that are available if that's an issue?
Well, yeah, we did for this issue. We did have a few copies donated by some of our readers. I think they're all taken now. Is that right, Sherry?
Yeah.
Yeah, but hopefully, like that, we can do that kind of thing in the future as well to be able to like make the magazine as accessible as possible to everyone in our community.
Awesome. Yeah. So if anybody out there is listening and wants to donate a magazine, be in touch.
Yes.
Great. Cool. Yeah. So I guess we're kind of winding down here. I can't believe we talked about a lot. We're on our final favorite question, which is, what is your go-to karaoke song? And I see Carol smiling.
Oh my God. I haven't been in a karaoke in ages. So I don't know, but I feel like I have to represent Brazil. So I go with Exagerando by Cazuza. It's a composer and singer here in Brazil. He is amazing.
Oh. We're adding that to the playlist. We have a playlist out there on Spotify, so we'll also add that to our show notes so y'all can start practicing for karaoke at Taikai. Karen, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, this one's a hard one for me as well because like it depends who I'm with. But if I'm with my relatives, back in Okinawa, I would probably sing Shimanchu no Takara by Begin. That's a good one. It gets everyone involved, like gets my mom standing up as well. So yeah, I love that
one. Yes. Sherry, what about you? What's your go-to karaoke song?
Yeah, so for me, basically it's any song by Gwen Stefani or No Doubt.
Oh my God, I love it.
So many of her songs, and I feel like my voice kind of matches her range, so it kind of suits my voice. But yeah, I love her songs.
Oh my God. I feel like I know you on a deeper level.
Yeah, I know.
Like soul essence. That's amazing.
I know. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're adding those songs. It's going to be amazing.
I know.
We're kind of closing down, but is there anything else that you all wanted to touch, or any other topics that we may have missed, or any questions or anything about the magazine that you really want to talk about before we wrap up?
Yeah, like shout outs or people you want to just highlight for their involvement, or anything that we've missed. I mean, we've covered a lot in a short amount of time, but the floor is yours if you want it.
I think I just want to thank all our readers for just being so for just showing that they wanted this to happen, and just showing that this mattered to them, and we're doing this for them, for the whole community. So yeah, we really appreciate all of our readers, and also all of the contributors as well. Because what we received was just so incredible. I was just blown away by everything that we got. So I really appreciate contributors and our readers.
Yeah, I feel like it's a project that's gone beyond us as an editorial team, and it's really something that is made by and for our community. So definitely echo that.
Yeah, I don't know if we can say that now, but I would like to thank Teiko, for the article Okinawa Times. So can we talk about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Please do.
So Teiko Yonaha Turshi, I believe. So she's actually the grandmother of one of our editors, Kay Yonaha Colbridge, and Teiko, she yeah, she has been just an adamant supporter of SNK, and she also like writes. She's written articles for the Okinawa Times, and so she wanted to write not just one, but actually 2 articles about SNK.
Yes. Amazing.
So yeah, one article has already been published in the Okinawa Times about us, and yeah, another one is coming up. So
yay!
Yeah.
We'll definitely find those links and share it with everyone, because that is a big accomplishment to celebrate for the team and for everyone.
Mm-hmm. I also just want to like shout out Teiko-san. Also, on a personal note, she is probably one of the most badass Okinawan folks that I have met, as inspired as a woman, as a shimanchu. She's in the New York area and is involved with the New York Kenjinkai, and former president of the New York Kenjinkai, which is the closest Kenjinkai to me here in Vermont. But she has been just absolutely glowing and raving about the magazine. So I just wanted to just highlight her again. And her articles is it both in Japanese and English, or is it just Japanese at this point?
So it's printed in Japanese, but we have it translated into English.
Oh, amazing.
For our own, for us.
Great. Yeah. And so if that's okay, if we have permission, I feel like that would be great to put links on the website so that folks can read her writing as somebody. And she's a contributor as well.
Yes. Yeah, she actually contributed one piece. It was really an incredible story. She wrote about her, I think, great grandma, right?
Mm.
Yeah, her
I think it was her grandma.
Oh, her grandma.
Kay's great grandma.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Her grandma, who actually, like, it's such an incredible story. Basically, Satsuma came to Luchu to, take some women for themselves, and her her grandmother actually gave herself a hajichi, and it actually worked. So it's really amazing that this hajichi was a way for her to basically protect herself. So it's really incredible.
Wow, that is amazing.
And you can find that article on issue 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So purchase it now, everyone.
Yeah. Get your copy.
Purchase it to read the full article and all amazing other articles.
Great plug.
Yes. Well, awesome. Well, if there isn't anything else, we can go into closing. But thank you so much, SNK team, for joining us. Where can we direct folks looking to find out more information about what you do?
And why don't we start with you, Sherry, if you have any personal Instagrams or Twitters or social media where people can follow, find you, learn more?
Yeah. So for SNK, we have an Instagram page, and it's called Shimanchu Mag. So yeah, just look us up on Instagram, Shimanchu Mag. I'm not really active on my personal account, so but I'm very active on my Uchinaguchi account. And if you're interested in learning Uchinaguchi, you can come over and check out my page, which is called Haisai Uchinaguchi.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Karen? Where can we find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram mostly. I'm at Haisai Karen. And yeah, let's be friends.
And lastly, over to you, Carol. Where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Instagram too, at Nakadomari _. And so please feel free to say hi. Just let's talk. Let's give it a try.
So wonderful.
And we'll have all of that info in our show notes. That's it, everyone. That's it for our episode. Thank you again so much for the team for joining us, and we'll see everyone next time. Mata yasai.
Thank you. Mata yasai.
Obrigada.
教科書に書いてあることだけじゃわからない大切なものがきっとここにあるはずさ
This was such a fun episode. I enjoyed talking to the Shimanchu no Kui team about the process of creating the magazine and how the team has expanded to include more of our Shimanchu diaspora in South America. I also love how our community is creating these spaces for all of us to share our stories in a safe and personal way. Have you purchased a copy of your own yet? Do you have any favorite articles? Drop us a line on Instagram or send us an email. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, you can find more information about purchasing your own copy at their website at shimanchumag.card.co. You can also find them on Instagram at shimanchumag. And if you'd like to support them with a donation, you can go to coffee.com/shimanchumag. I can't wait for the next issue to release. Again, a big ikbeni debut to the Shimanchu no Kui team, Sherry Schaefer, Karen Tengen Okuda, and Carol Nakadomari, who joined us for the interview portion, and Jun Ootari and Kei Yonaha Colbridge, who are not present. We are so thankful for your hard work in putting together such a beautiful magazine for our community. You can find more information about the magazine and our guest speakers on the show notes section of our website. And thank you to musicians Danny Hokama, Kaylee Kinjo, Brandon Ng, John Azama, and Gus Hokama for letting us use their amazing cover, combining the songs Katateni Sanchi no with Shimanchu no Takara to create Sanchi no Takara. You can get more info about this song at dannyhokama.bandcamp.com. Big thank you to our amazing audio team, Emma Anderson and Joseph Kamiya. If you enjoyed our podcast, we'd appreciate if you hit subscribe on our channels. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and we'll love it if you shared it with your friends and family. And of course, donations via coffee are always appreciated. Thanks again for sticking around. We'll see you next time. Mata yasai!
For this episode's fun fact, we love the diversity of the Ryukyuan diaspora and the many places we call home. Did you know that Toyama Kyuzo from Kintown is known as the father of Okinawan emigration and is buried in the Mililani Memorial Park and Mortuary on Oahu? He led the first immigrants who landed in Hawaii on January 8, 1900. This began the migration to Hawaii, the Philippines, and North, South, and Central America. Currently, the largest Ryukyuan diaspora resides in Japan, followed closely by Brazil. The United States and Peru also have sizable populations, but even places like Bolivia, Taiwan, Palau, Philippines, Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Ecuador, Paraguay, Cuba, Micronesia, and New Caledonia also have a decent number of Ryukyuans residing there from different parts of the Ryukyuan migration history. Nife Debiru for staying until the very end, and Mata Yasai!